What's going on, friends? James Nguyen here with the Alpha Ray Comic Channel. My internet is doing something funny, so I don't know if you heard anything or not. I was not hearing any intro. I didn't see the intro, so hopefully the intro worked. But we're here. It looks like we're on uh, we're on the air, and I found out I've got some buttons I can press. All part of the new StreamYard, I guess. But we're gonna have some fun today. I'm not feeling well, but we're gonna keep it lively here for you, and hopefully you guys will enjoy bringing in the weekend with me with a draw stream on a Friday night draw stream with my farewell to Mr. Absolut Batman. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. My family and I had a wonderful time. We hosted some singles from the West Coast. I'm here on the East Coast, Central New York, and we had some singles who are stranded here on the East Coast without their families. Were doing other things that they could not join them, and they stayed here with us. And so we welcomed them into our Thanksgiving, and it was a fantastic time. So I hope you guys made some memories, and let's get into some Absolute Batman. Why am I saying farewell to Mr. Absolute Batman, Mr. Scott Snyder, Mr. Nick Dragotta, and all the buzz about the resurgence of the love for Batman? We'll talk about it. Talk about it. And let me pull up. We'll pull up the. Let's get this out of the way. Add to the stage my little screen. Open it up yonder way, like so. And we will talk about this Batman right here. So this was the first that I had heard about it when the Absolute Batman ash can hit San Diego. People were starting to buzz about it. So I was getting very excited, and I was wishing that I could get my hands on one of these here ash cans. And lo and behold, like the week before Absolute Batman came out, I walked into my local comic shop, and they had one, and so I bought it. And I am actually putting this up for sale on my Etsy store. If you want to go over to jamesq.net, I have that. Or if you just want to click the link in the description below, you'll see that you can get this, which is selling for $100. So it's selling it for $100 on eBay and other places. So, but if you buy it from me, you will also get 2 nights drawing. And so what I did was I took a backer board and I started the drawing right there on a backer board so that you can keep this drawing with the ash can, with your comics. I think it's the way moving forward for me. Just a fun way to keep the sketches with your actual comics. So I'm looking forward doing that. What else was I going to show you? And the reason why I am saying farewell to the Absolute Batman is because it increasingly gets more violent. And even in issue number 13, the sexual explicit nature of it is starting to reveal itself. And so I'm not a huge fan of bringing that kind of stuff into my home. So just as an example of the things that I opposed, so I shared these comics with my kids, with my son, my 17-year-old, and I have to take a Sharpie and black some of the language out. There's not like harsh language, but as far as some of the violence goes, this was I flipped through the first issue here, and this was one of the first things that I blacked out was the girl in the bikini. I'm like, all right, he doesn't need to see that. She was very scantily clad. And then the vicious killing of this mobster guy. Here's a string around his neck, another string around his neck, more strings around their neck. I think these were knives in his eyeballs. So I was like, all right, maybe I can put up with it because the story was very compelling, and the storytelling. I mean, just look at these. The visuals here are pretty incredible. So I was a huge fan of the storytelling. I was a fan of how Scott Snyder was unpacking the story, and introducing us to this new alternate world of Absolute Batman as opposed to regular Batman. So it was kind of exciting. I wish they did more of this here where it was silhouette and not like actual eyeballs flying at you. And so, I mean, I went as far as to get the Noir edition. I was just kind of all in, as the thing said, on this Absolute Batman. Just very, very good storytelling. I was introduced to the more manga style of storytelling where he's using a lot more panels to help pace the story. And as I'll show you a preview of Alpha Red number 8, I am incorporating a lot of what I'm learning, just like a lot of this stuff. I guess I didn't have to black a lot of this stuff out because they were already censoring it with more of a silhouetted bloodiness, but they stopped doing that. They went all in with the blood, and I became increasingly unhappy about how much I had to censor before I gave it to my son. So I definitely like Nick Dragotta's storytelling, how they just kind of add more panels to everything. It gives you a different kind of pacing. I don't know, it gives you more story. So there's so much to learn about alternative storytelling aspects that I learned through this series. But and I'm glad that the latest storyline came to a satisfying conclusion with the Bane storyline. And I know that the creators of Bane weren't happy with like the size and scope of how big they made Bane. But it was a good storyline. And see, in this issue, I'll show you how much I had to censor, like a whole page. Like I couldn't even share this with my son. I had to put black electrical tape over it just to look at the page over here. He's like, I don't know, am I missing any of the story? I said, nope, 0 of the story. But they gave you 3 pages of imagery that I didn't care to share with my son. And that's the part that disappoints me because it's very, it's Batman. They sell it as a very popular thing. And I don't know, they're using kid stuff to sell adult ideas. And I'm not super thrilled about that. So it's a conscience thing, not so much a quality thing. Like I said, the writing is top notch. The artwork is very good. It's not really my style. That's more of an indie style. I'm really taking in what the storytelling than the actual art style. So the storytelling style versus the anatomy or the faces. I did not like his faces at all. I like the energy and the action of his storytelling, but the figures and stuff were just not my cup of tea. But this is my comic here. This is Alpha Red, and it's a superhero comic, and it's safe for the whole family. So that is what I work on. And if you are interested, right now you can go over to shopalphared.com and you can pick up this Alpha Red Volume 1, which collects issues number 1 through 5. And that is his origin story. And just wanted to give you guys that opportunity. And this is actually the proof from the printer that they sent me. They sent me the physical proof. And this is how it all is going to look, all complete. It's just not glued. So that's why I have that big clip on it. So I don't even know how to store it because I don't want a giant clip on it. But I think it's cool to have it before it's glued. But this is my current and future comic, Alpha Red, that we're on issue number 8. And I'm just going to show you a couple of previews. So for anybody who's new to the channel, hit that like button, smash that subscribe if you would. And we'll talk about creating independent comics. We'll talk about drawing. We'll talk about all kinds of things that independent creators have to think about while we're drawing, while we're promoting our book, trying to convince you to part with your hard-earned money to bring these stories home to you. But this is page 1. This is actually kind of one of those comics I always liked when I would buy the X-Men, and after a giant adventure, they would have like a softball game or a basketball game or some kind of game where everybody's just sitting around the pool, just taking a day off. And then, of course, adventure happens. You know, something crazy happens. So this is one of those issues where Crazy John convinces Alpha Red to come with him to a pro wrestling match. And when they get there, you know, he convinces them, hey, it's no big deal. And it's all part of the show. And then he starts getting into it. But of course, something bad is happening in the locker rooms. This is page 3. And then you got to add a little bit of levity. He's runs into an old friend who has aged well, and he starts getting a crush on her or whatever. And then page 5 is where I'm at. That's the latest. And it introduces the stakes. You know, they're going to be doing a cage match, and then I'll weave all these things together. These things get woven together. But page 6 is what I'm currently working on, and this is where all the action happens. All the wrestling action happens. It'll happen here, and then the next page will introduce the bad guy again, and then more wrestling ensues, and then Alpha Red has to jump in. He has to suit up and jump in. So, like you guys, I talked about it last week. I'm kind of like in between pages if I feel like I need a break from Alpha Red stuff, and I want to get into you know, the stuff that I grew up on, the stuff that inspired me to draw comics in the first place. Spider-Man being the number one guy that really got me collecting comics. I liked all comics pretty much. Any sequential art that I picked up, I was always drawn to. But it wasn't until Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man that I really started collecting. And I would go to the drugstore, and I would be looking for the comics. But it wasn't until I found Spider-Man, and I would go every week, because I didn't know it happened every month. I just thought it happened randomly. But when I would go to the drugstore to pick up Spider-Man, I found X-Men, and I found X-Factor, and I found all these other comics. So that's what got me rolling down the path. So I did come up with a story, and I am going to start drawing the story, lettering it right in the thing, so that every week when you come back, hopefully I'll have a couple more panels, a couple more pages of that as well. But that, my friends, is that. And how about a quick applause for ending that segment and dovetailing into the next one. Do you guys like the song, the sound effects? Here, I'll give you some. Get a bouncy. Nice. How about this? Yes. Thank you so much for showing up to the Alpha Red draw stream. So, do you guys hear the music in the background? I don't know. I turned on the music, but I don't hear it. But it might be a little low. Now I am looking for the thing I'm going to draw on. Here we go. We're in business. I know what I'm doing, guys. Sort of. Not really. But this is why you're here. And I'm going to check in the comments to see who is here and who is hanging out. And I just want to say hi to everybody. Zero Comics is first today. I don't know, Benny, where were you? Ryan's got you beat. What's going on, Ryan? Thanks for showing up. The Absolut Batman stuff looks like came out of the Spawn universe. Yeah, no, it looks very 90s. It's very exaggerated, but it's still cool. Like like I said, the quality is good. It's just the themes are getting darker, and I subscribe to Scott Snyder's Substack, and he promises more violence and more. I don't know. It just, to me, the way he was describing his direction for the creativity, it was just going to get darker and grittier and more violent. So I got to tap out. Got to tap out. Jay Scott is in the house. What's up, James? Happy holiday weekend. Yes, I hope you guys are having a long weekend. So it feels like, we had Friday on Wednesday, and then we had Saturday, and then boom, Monday. So hopefully it doesn't all feel like that. But Brother Benny in the house, I appreciate your integrity. I have a few books that I should probably get rid of due to explicit content that I didn't realize would be so persuasive. It is persuasive. That's the danger of any medium that tells a story. And so we kind of have to guard our minds as we bring stuff into the house. So I hear music. That is good news. Good news. You guys like the we're anticipating the drawing. So it gets, that's just the fun thing. All right. Let's get to it, guys. Let's get to it. We'll start with the head. I'm going to try using these mechanical pencils just because I got a lot of the lead. I am already not a fan of it. When I was using this, maybe it's the kind of lead that was in it. See, this feels better. This is darker. I just found a bunch of lead, and I was like, okay, let's switch over instead of getting the itty bitty nubs of the pencils that I have. I don't know where the armor starts and stops. All right. We got it. They don't always show like that he has ears. You know what? I'm not even going to draw it because they typically don't draw it unless he has to use it to either pull out the knives or it turns around and stabs people in the eyeballs. So it's really too bad that it's so explicit, and just can't do it. Just can't do it. And maybe you can do whatever you want with your own characters, but this is Batman. This is like something that is marketed to kids. Also, not this version, but like other versions. So like you blur the lines of who the character is for, and I think it's just kind of irresponsible of DC to not make it more clear or have guidelines on what you can do with like your main tentpole characters that you build your whole brand on. And I hope that I can keep that in mind as I create Alpha Red, that the goal is to inspire young people to do good. There's good guys, there's bad guys. And really, it shouldn't be ambiguous. As much as I've drawn this guy, there are some nuances that I am not super familiar with. See, just like fun stuff like this, where he blows up the building and it looks like the bat. It's like, it has some funny stuff. And that's what kept me around. But then it gets to be like skulls are bashed in, eyeballs are popping out. Here we go. This is what I'm looking for. A couple of shoulder shots. So I understand that we as comic book fans grow up and we can handle mature comic content. But it's really, my objection really is that they're using Batman and other characters that were introduced to us as like an all ages kind of character or storylines or universe. You know, you watch something like Batman the Animated Series, and you're like, you know, it's done so well, and all the extreme violence and all that kind of stuff is off screen. It's silhouetted, so you can make the case where, okay, you're dealing with adult themes, but you're yeah. James just said he's going darker. Yeah. Spider-Man has guidelines per Stan Lee, I believe, so they cannot change him too much from his incarnation. Yeah. I mean, unless they make like an alternate Spider-Man, you know, the Ultimates Spider-Man is a little different. Some say it's a better Spider-Man, but yeah, that's you know, they should really police the editors should really be more careful about the brand. No, they didn't create it, but they're the stewards of the IP. And if you want Batman to be around for longer, you're going to want to market to the kids, and then make sure that the parents feel that Batman is safe enough to bring home, and they're not worried about inappropriate, whether it be violence, whether it be sexual content within the comics. It just should be safe. So I don't know. I know the Dark Knight is a more gritty story, and it has its, I don't want to say darker, but it has its more adult type themes that Frank Miller works through. But it's just not as explicit. I don't feel. I'm not making an excuse for Dark Knight being better or worse. Or I've read The Dark Knight twice. I don't remember much about it. I haven't read it lately, so I don't know as far as where my faith and my responsibility as a dad and all that. I don't know where all that comes in right now based on that story. I don't know that I've shared that with the kids. Actually, I think I have. With all the kids, I think I've shared The Dark Knight with them. So, and I felt that it was, well, maybe I should have reread it before I gave it to them. But what I remembered of it was not anything outside of the violence. Even the violence was not explicit. It wasn't shown too in a way that's so graphic. Ryan says, all industries, movie, music, cartoon, comic, all tried to blur the lines so it all becomes all ages. Yeah, if it's all ages, then it's made for no ages. You know, like it's like you can't just say, hey, this horror thing is made for kids. And I know that parents show their kids horror stuff. I don't even like horror stuff. Like what was that? Goosebumps. I thought Goosebumps was a more of a silly thing because it was so popular when my kids were kids. And then I sat through one. I was like, I'm scared. It's like I would never let my kids watch a Goosebumps episode. I think they'd be freaked out of their minds. But you say, oh well, different strokes for different folks, and then it just escalates. It goes a little bit more, and then you say, well, it's okay. Everybody is okay with it because so many people were exposed to it when they were young that they're desensitized to it. And for me, I just can't condone it, because I'm gonna wonder why my kids are a certain way if I keep allowing them to consume it or even introducing it to them. That's part of it too, because my kids don't buy their own comics. They like comics. They'll read their own comics. They'll read my comics. I mean, actually, my daughter did buy some comics, so I can't say that she only reads comics that I buy. But she really likes, what's that series that's sitting over there? The Amulet. They read that from the library as they were growing up, and so they had fond memories of it. And so I bought that for my daughter for her birthday this past year. I located issues 1 through 7, but I had no idea there were 8, because every time I looked it up, I said the complete series 1 through 5. I'm like, well, this one says complete series and it's 1 through 6. Hey, the complete series 1 through 7. So that was what I saw, was the last one, was all they had was 7. But I found out after I bought the 7 that there is yet one more. So I have to be on the hunt for one more. That might be a good Christmas gift. Think about when in the Dark Knight movie, they had Joker put a pencil into the table, and then he slammed the thug's head into the table, driving the pencil through his eye. And this was a Batman sequel. Yeah. So like, I know I have friends who brought their kids to see these movies on opening weekend. I'm like, bro, and their kids were younger than my kids. I'm like, I know that we want to share our stuff with our kids, but there's, it's not all age appropriate all the time. So for me, I'm just kind of, it was a mixed bag at first, because at that time it was easy for me to say, my kids are obviously not going to watch it, because it looks like it was kind of made for me, not made for my kids. So it was easy for me to say, I'm not going to let them watch it on opening weekend with me, or for a long, long time. And my wife is even more guarded about what we watch. And so now that my kids are older, my youngest is 17. My daughter, who's 23, has really no desire to watch some of the movies that were popular, that we did not let them see, just because she's just not interested. But my 21-year-old son, he likes action and adventure and stuff, and Batman is his favorite movie franchise. So he'll watch the Christopher Nolan Batman. He likes all the Dark Knight stuff, and he really likes the new Batman, which is super violent. And he's old enough. We talk about it. We talk about fictional violence, real violence, what it could do in his mind to, make him think that certain things are real, even if they're not. It's very persuasive, very influential. Because it, like, especially in movies become like your memories. You can remember movie lines like you were in the room when they said them, but most likely not the case, especially if it's just a storyline. If you were on the set, then you might be able to make a case that you can remember it, because it was an actual memory for you. But all right, what do you guys think? Good pose, good energy. Ready for the inks. Let's see here. That comes down a little bit more. Let's give some energy lines here. So Ryan, how is your Indiegogo doing for Nephilim? I meant to jump over and support it here. Is that still going? J. Scott approves. Looks good, he says. Thank you, bro. Thank you. So yeah, no, it pains me a little bit to not pick it up, and maybe somewhere down the line, when my 17-year-old gets older and he wants to check it out himself, and we talk about it a little bit more, and he wants to buy it with his own money, we can talk about, whether it can come back into the house, and I'll get to see the next storyline, which is Joker, which is the Joker. Okay, let's take a snapshot. Ryan says it's going until December 25th. It's going well. Thank you for asking. I'm coloring one of the pages as we speak. Nice, bro. We'll have to. If I were better with all this technology, I could flip back and forth. Maybe I'll just have you on and we can do like a feature about the Nephilim and some other campaigns that are going on of people that I like and I support. All right, here we go. All right, I don't know how the inks are going to take to the back of this cardboard, the backing board, and already I'm seeing that I don't like it. That's what I get for trying something without trying it first off air, like pre-do, but I did not. So here we are. So are you guys following Absolut Batman? Where do you guys land on this? Do you not care? Do you not pick it up? Is it not a thought? Do you not share the comics with your kids? Do you not care that the violent content is in there because they're going to find it anyway? You just walk through it with them. Where do you stand? There's nothing like having kids to kind of help you kind of think through your priorities. And it was like, you still don't think about it until they ask you about it. And you're like, I never thought about it. I just like it. Can't I just like stuff? Do I have to pay for everything and explain everything? But one of the main reasons that I quit smoking, I used to smoked for 12 years. And really the main reason I quit smoking is because I didn't want my kids to be stuck smoking. And one day I was smoking outside and my daughter walks up to the patio door with a white crayon in her mouth. And she's puffing away on the white crayon. And I was like, oh boy, I think they're learning a little bit more than I want them to learn. So shortly thereafter, I quit. Because I quit a couple times. Just because we didn't have the money. We were pretty broke. I was pretty poor early on. And we stayed poor until very recently. But really, when you start having kids, you kind of question, where what's important, what's not important. You know, you just become more intentional. Hopefully, you become more intentional. Hopefully. Ryan says he'll be down for that. Down for that. Yeah, let me get through the next week or two, and things are. I hate saying things are manageable or things are calming down. As soon as I say that, a big work project pops up. I think we're having a company Christmas party like super early. It's like December 11th. So it's like, it'll feel like, I guess that's like 2 weeks. It seems too early for a Christmas party, but then I have to travel for that because my office is actually 4 hours away from where I live, where my territory is as a traveling salesman. So I live in my territory in central New York, but my company, my business is actually in central Pennsylvania. That's the agency. So anytime they have like a meeting, I have to, like a big meeting, I have to make my way down to central Pennsylvania to be a part of that. All right. Get the grimace. Get the grimace going. Ryan says, to be honest, I am not a fan of the Absolute Batman. I like the look of Absolute Superman, but I think they just did this to have something they can own after these characters are public fair use. Maybe. It doesn't seem like they can do anything to get anybody's interest on the regular stuff, because they relaunched Batman, and I picked it up because I liked the art. Jorge Jimenez, his art is top notch, very slick, good energy. His anatomy is a little off, doesn't always hit just right for me, but the story is just like me. Nothing special, nothing new. With the Absolute Batman here, I think it was the newness of the world. It was kind of a reimagining of a parallel world, which, I mean, that's what they were trying to sell it as. But they were really, it wasn't meant to be like an alternate thing that was like similar. It was like an alternate thing that was opposite. So I kind of understood that it was going to be opposite. In what ways, I didn't know until we got there, that he was going to be a poor guy and not a rich guy, that he was more of a, I don't know, social justice warrior, more than a street level kind of, fight the bad guys, protect the innocent people. Seems like he's more worried about fighting the rich guys, and the bad guys are the bad guys in the police department? No, that's the regular Batman. Where Vandal Savage is commissioner of Gotham, and he's doing all kinds of bad stuff. So, bad cops, like I guess some are bad, but I've got family who are police officers, and they are not hunting brown people. That just kind of upsets me. That is such a loud narrative. And so that does turn me off. And I probably will stop picking that up also. The regular Batman wasn't really like Batman. I do like Batman, but he was just not a must-have. I picked up Batman when Jim Lee was doing it with Hush, and I still actually like the Hush that Jim Lee is doing, just because I like the art, and I think that he's not exactly as good as he used to be. I really liked him on X-Men. I still look at his X-Men stuff with lots of reverence. But, I mean, he's never been the same since he left. But yeah, I never got into the Absolute Superman. The artwork for that looked amazing, honestly. But I think it was the hair. He felt emo. I was just like, just can't get down with emo Superman. So I don't know if that's the vibe it has. Ryan, maybe you can try to sell me on picking up Absolute Superman instead as I drop Absolute Batman. Absolute Batman. Like, I don't like when I hear Batman's voice, Absolute Batman's voice, I don't hear the gruff, like scary voice that we always try to make when we pretend to be Batman. I'm Batman, like it's more like he's just this silent, figured it out already kind of guy who had a plan, already set it up inside the building, inside the walls, inside everything. The Batmobile was like built into a building. Who knows when? Who knows how long ago? But conveniently placed there so that when he needed to escape, he could go down the elevator, and there he is. There he is. Yeah, so I don't know what's going to happen with the fair use when it becomes fair use, because that'll be the earliest kind of Batman stuff. And back then, he had a gun. He would kill people, I think. I mean, that version you can use. They were saying that about Superman. I don't know how close they are together, Superman and the Batman fair use stuff. But they were saying that Superman couldn't fly in the beginning, so when it hits that 100 years, you're going to be having a Superman that hops around, but you won't necessarily have the one that flies, the one that we currently see, with or without the collar, doesn't matter. Like, you for sure won't be able to do the one with the collar, but who cares? So did you guys travel for Thanksgiving? Are you guys like me? Did you have Thanksgiving part 2 for leftovers tonight? That's what we did. I can't blame my wife. She crushed it yesterday. Spent the whole day in the kitchen. Made some incredible food. And so she's like, you don't get another new hot meal. She did turn it into pot pie. So we had turkey pot pie. So she did do a little bit more cooking. Whoops. I messed that up here. Messed that up. So they said that it was going to be the busiest travel holiday ever. Like 81 point some million people traveling in the States here. We did not. So leftovers for lunch, Ryan says, but needed something different for dinner. Yeah, I actually skipped lunch. I skipped breakfast and lunch today. I knew that I was going to be sitting around doing nothing because I had a backache. Going into Thanksgiving. I had a flag football game all planned out. I was psyching myself up for getting hurt, like old man hurt, for flag football. And then I went for my walk on Wednesday morning. And like while I was walking, I was like, my back is starting to hurt from nothing, from being old. And by the time I got home from my walk, I could barely stand up straight. And I did not even pick up the pieces of trash that I walked by, which sometimes I do. But if the trash comes too early in the walk, I got to walk around with trash in my hand for too long. So I just leave it. I did regret it because it was trash day and it would not have taken too many steps for me to throw it in somebody else's trash can. But I did not think of that when I walked by it. It's like, I just started my walk. I will not be walking with this in my hand for that long. So Ryan, do you so you draw everything? Do you use 3D assets? It looks like you do a lot of drawing digitally. I don't know if that's me misremembering from watching some of your stuff. But I see you cleaned up the trailer a little bit for Indiegogo. It was better pacing. I don't know what you did, but it felt a little bit more natural than the first time. On where'd you have it? Kickstarter? Yeah. I just cannot get into the digital drawing of it all. I forget who was here last week. He was new. 1, 2, 3, 4. And he said he only did digital drawing. And I watch on Facebook. I'm on Facebook mostly because I'm old. But Kanan White has been posting a bunch of his process videos, and he's all digital. And it's very impressive. And if I could overcome the technicalness of it all, I think I would enjoy the I guess what is it that I like about the digital? Like they can move heads around, they can resize it, just like a lot of convenient things that you can do without redrawing everything. But it really just is another layer of knowledge and skill. And then just depending on the program to work properly. I mean, I bought one of those Cintiq screens It was a knockoff. It was not a Cintiq. I think it was Gannon. Begins with a G. It was like a third the cost. And it worked fine, other than it being super bright. Like the colors were very overly vibrant. And so if you colored it normal, if you did anything on it to try to bring it down to normal, it would look dull anywhere else. So the reds were like super red. Everything was very vibrant. And so I got used to it. Just as I was getting used to it, it died on me. It's actually sitting in the corner over there. But then my son picked it up, fiddled with it, and it worked for him. He never used it as a touch screen thing. It was an enormous screen. So he just used it as another monitor. 100% digital, 600 DPI. Yikes. I have mixed feelings about high DPI stuff because I actually draw my comics now on a smaller size. I don't know if you were here in the beginning here, Ryan. I know you were first, but I don't know. Some people are first and then they dip out. But I draw my pages actually at on a smaller size so that I can make more comics. I can quicken the output. I just don't have the time to put into every page, every panel, every character where I need as much DPI as 600. I do scan them in at 600 DPI, but that's only so that I can bring it into a 300 DPI page at 11 by 17 with a 10 by 15 drawing surface to give to the colorist so that they have something that is typical. And seems to work out. They add a little bit of coloring detail where I do not put in the line work for, which is sometimes a blessing, sometimes a curse. They will add things that I don't know what they're adding. You do the colors too, Ryan, on Nephilim? Or do you hire out for that? I couldn't imagine. Like, I think for me, part of the thrill is to create more story. So I feel like I get trapped in just doing like one picture when a whole story needs to be told. And so I kind of chomp at the bit if I spend too much time on one picture. So 600 DPI I think would drive me crazy. Insane crazy. Crazy. I use Clip Studio and Photoshop. Okay. Do I know how to use Clip Studio? Photoshop has always been my one and only. Just because of the learning curve, really. And I don't even know how to do everything that Photoshop is able to do. I'm always learning new things about Photoshop. So, Clip Studio. Clip Studio sounds like more of a video editor. Is that also used for video editing? Clip Studio. That's what it sounds like to me. I thought that was create something. What does everybody use? The one people who use their iPads for like drawing and coloring digitally. What do they use? I want to say creative something create maybe. And I've looked at it and I'm like, oh, it's just like another thing to learn. Like I already know how to mostly do Photoshop. Try to hire it out, but the guy cut and run after a few pages. I'm not a comic book colorist, but since I have a digital background, I had to try and match his style, which is not easy. Of course. I use Adobe Premiere for video. Okay. Yeah, I guess I'm just not. I've not heard of Clip Studio as like a digital drawing platform. Is that a platform app? I don't know what the proper use for these things are. Used to be so easy where it's just a program. It's software that you just bought and downloaded onto your computer and it would be yours. And they would try to sell you the next better thing. But I think maybe the differences between the better things became so small that they wrap you up with a subscription instead. So you get stuck paying $200 a year instead of paying $300 or $400 for 10 years. I don't know. I don't remember how much Photoshop costs because my Photoshop version was a bootleg. I think mine actually had a number. It's like Photoshop 5 or Photoshop 6. I think they did away with it after Photoshop 7 or 8 became Photoshop CS or something like that. Procreate, that is it. That's the one I keep hearing the most. I use Clip Studio for making panels and the bubbles. I also use Adobe Illustrator for some of my bubbles and onomatopoeia. Yeah, I'm starting to do onomatopoeia right on the page. So I don't know if you do that while you're drawing the panels, Ryan. But I'm having fun, trying to come up with them at the time. And if you put it in, you don't have to draw as many backgrounds. Pro tip: more onomatopoeia on the original. Not only is it cooler for the original artwork, you draw less backgrounds. I forget which artist. I think it was Mark Brooks who said that he actually likes drawing backgrounds. I can't think of the last comic that I picked up from him. He has I can't think of the last. Is he still doing sequential work? I know he does a lot of covers, and his process is like killer. I mean, for him to do his artwork, the different layers, and he's pulling an airbrush, he's masking things off, physically masking things, not just on Photoshop, physically masking things with like sticky paper. I guess it's sticky paper. It's not something that I use, but he said that, until he used to hate doing backgrounds, and then he was forced to do backgrounds for one of his comics, and somebody gave him like a mental hack as to how to get through it, and like perspective and all the things, and it clicked. And he says that he really enjoys the background, which I wish that I could say that I do too, but I do not. Backgrounds. If I can avoid them, I avoid them. But yeah, it's really, for me, it's storytelling. Tell the story, get in, get out. Give people the emotional connection they need to really care about the story. I mean, I'm saying this like I apply these things. These are very recent lessons for me. So if you read Alpha Red Volume 1, you will see that I do not always employ these best practices of storytelling and all the things, because I was just having a lot of fun in the beginning. So Alpha Red Volume 1 is really kind of me having fun and then realizing, hey, I kind of like this. It could mean something to somebody. Could mean something to me later on in my life. It's not just phone things in. It's really kind of get serious about it. And so that's what I did. That's what I'm trying to do. That's why I brought in my writer. I don't know if you do all the writing too, Ryan, for Nephilim. But yeah. Right, it says, I usually draw everything first and then decide how best to incorporate the words into the scene. Yep. Well, see, I'm all over the map. You know, sometimes I write the dialogue first and I go, okay, this is what I need to do to make the story go. What are the coolest things? How many panels do I need? All that stuff comes after I write down the dialogue. But now that I have a writer, it's a different process. So he's fun to work with. He gives me a synopsis that I approve. I'll throw in some ideas, and then he'll break it down page by page or groups of pages, like a scene, like 2 or 3 pages, and make this happen. And I like to take that, and then even after that, I add more story to the story. And so it's got to be frustrating to work with me because, you know, I own Alpha Red. He's my creation. But, you know, I share the creativity with somebody else, but like my ideas trump his ideas. So if I get a harebrained idea, I just put it in and I go, hey, I changed this. So I don't know. He keeps hanging around. So I'm glad that he doesn't get too mad at me and runs away. Says, I need a background artist. Backgrounds are no fun, but they give the page so much depth. Absolutely. It helps to say so much in the story when you have the right background. But yeah, need those background artists. I'm a writer. My sons are involved in the writing. Okay. It's nice to get the family involved. I don't think any of my kids. My daughter is very creative, and she is doing her own comic book, but she has very little to no interest in superhero comics. She'll read them just as a curiosity as to why I like them. And I tend to gravitate towards comics that have better artwork. So she, I don't think, has read any Absolut Batman because she doesn't like the art. So because she doesn't like the art and she sees some of the violence and stuff, she is not quick to pick it up. And I don't recommend it to her. She's kind of a girly girl. So all the adventure that she likes is really fantasy-based stories. So her and I were working on a story. I actually came up with the idea for the story. I introduced it to her, and like she kind of stole it. I'm gonna call her out right here. She stole my story, and she's running away with it, and she's having fun. She put it on pause. So I threatened her that if she doesn't use it the next 2 years, I'm going to take it back and incorporate that story into Alpha Red. And it is a fantasy story. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. How does a superhero comic merge with the fantasy story that I created with my daughter, that she stole from me? She is definitely going in some directions that we did not discuss while I was pitching her the collaboration. Collaboration. So how many sons do you have, Ryan? And how old are they? Old enough to write, right? Old enough for you to respect their writing abilities. That's also the other thing. Like, I get so picky about like my ideas, bit of a control freak when it comes to Alpha Red, that I mean, I don't know if anybody could really write an Alpha Red story that I could just pick up and say, yep, we're just going to do a complete Alpha Red story your way, which I thought was going to happen with issue number 8 here, the current issue. It was a good story, and I didn't have any problems with it, but I got the bright idea to, it's a pro wrestling focused, and we happen to have a pro wrestling company right here in central New York that is connected very heavily to the retro gaming community and the comic book community. And so I connected with them and asked them if they would want to be a part of it, and they jumped at the chance. So we ended up switching out a lot of the characters that my writer had created for Alpha Red number 8. And I know he spent some time researching, creating wrestlers with backstories. He was having a lot of fun, so it was kind of hard for me to burst his bubble and let him know that we were going to use local wrestlers as the main characters. So you'll see when you see Alpha Red number 8, you'll see that there are a lot more likenesses. Whether or not they look like the wrestlers will be up to them to determine, but we'll be using their names and as much as their likeness as possible. So my son is into manga, so he is helping me to incorporate some of the themes into our story. Nice. 3 sons? Come on, hit the button. Man, I have some computer problems for sure. 3 sons, 26, 24, and 6. Whoa, 6. Little oopsie action. Either that or you're a crazy man. Yeah, no, you don't look like you're old enough to have a 26-year-old. 6-year-old, I can see. 6-year-old, I can see. Yeah, so that's part of it too. That's what I did like about Nick Dragota's artwork. I didn't realize that manga had so many panels. That's a feature of the style to kind of help with the pacing. So that is a bonus that I learned from Absolut Batman. I keep wanting to say Ultimate. I'm like, it's not Ultimate. Don't say Ultimate. Don't say Ultimate Batman. Absolute Batman. So Brian Michael Bendis is coming back to Marvel. He's bringing Mark Bagley out of retirement, out of semi-retirement. I know that like newer Bendis was more of a not so great writer, but when I dipped out of comics, he was my favorite writer at the time. I really enjoyed his decompressed storytelling. That was very different from the fast-paced, shallow stories that they weren't all shallow, but like they were just adventure after adventure after adventure, and there was like not much the writers weren't taking advantage of the medium being like a cliffhanger driven, like you can sequentialize it in a way that keeps people coming back month to month. It didn't feel that way. And he did it pretty good when I left comics. Started having kids, not a lot of money for fun stuff like comics. So I dipped out for roughly 10, 15 years. Came back and it was a mess. It was a mess. Because I heard that Bendis was on Superman. I was like, oh, sweet. I can really get into some Superman because everybody likes Superman, like at least the idea of Superman. And then, but I never like was a purchaser of Superman comics. I tried to pick them up when Jim Lee was doing them, but that's when Jim Lee was starting to get really inconsistent with his schedule, with his output. And so I was just like, I can't do it. Just can't do it. So you guys a fan of Batman's emblem becoming an axe that he can pull off his chest? I don't know how you walk around with a giant axe on your chest, but it makes for a cool little tool thing there. The utility, it's more utility than it is practical, you know. But it's just enough for the imagination to say, you know what, who cares, we're doing it. So he's wearing a battle axe on his chest. I think we're getting a little too serious with our comics. Like, that doesn't make any sense. How does he do that? Because it's a comic book. It's a comic book. All right, guys, don't forget that this is available along with the ash can on Etsy. So jamesq.net. Or you just use the link in the description, in the comments. And I may have, on maybe for Cyber Monday, I'll have some kind of a coupon for the Etsy store. So stay tuned for my social media stuff. I'll try to announce it. I'll try to do something. But I am enjoying working on Alpha Red number 8. So Ryan, is Nephilim, you said you're coloring pages right now, so it's not like a completely done book. Is it completely drawn? and you're just coloring it? Or is it you still have to draw a bunch of it? All right, that was the old precise V5. Now we're going to go to the thicker one, the V7, to hopefully separate a lot of the pieces of anatomy, or just kind of visually give the observer a way to separate some of the parts of the drawing. Makes certain things pop out, which then automatically sinks other parts back farther. So it looks like you're doing more detail, even though I did put all those details in, all those lines. I don't know. I used to think Todd McFarlane was like, oh man, he puts in so much detail. And then you go back and he's just kind of throwing lines down. But hey, worked for me. It looked unlike anything else that was going on at the time. So it got me hooked. He was my favorite artist. It was between him and Jim Lee for a long time. Who's my favorite? I can't decide. I decided it was Jim Lee after a while. Jim was my man. And Joe Madureira came along. I'm like, okay, this guy is a little East meets West. A little manga, a little anime in there. Still felt a little Jim Lee-ish with some things. So why not? Why not? And Joe Quesada rounded out my top 3 as I was forming my style, like trying to get my head around anatomy and storytelling and all that stuff. Joe Quesada was the third J. Jim, Joe, and Joe. Jim, Joe, and Joe. But yeah, I guess Joe Quesada. I don't know, when did he fall out of favor? I don't like to hear him speak about things. It seems a little, I don't know, a little arrogant. I hate to say that word because I don't know. It's just an observation. It's not like an attack, but like, I mean, obviously he's been there, done that kind of. So I don't want to throw too much shade, pretending like I have done more. Like his, I think, fundamental understanding is a little kind of preachy, but you got to be confident in what you believe. You got to think you're doing the right thing. And the man can still draw, but just a little bit of arrogance, I think, that seems to rub people the wrong way, especially about the Spider-Man One More Day, No Way Home. One More Day. One More Day. He's kind of just dead set that they did the right thing by breaking up Mary Jane and Peter. He's just very sure that Peter and Mary Jane do not belong together. Nobody wants to see that. It kills a character, yada, yada, yada. Editorial decision to keep him forever in the state of never getting what he wants. And that's what people like. Like, I don't know. I like the guy to figure it out every now and again. Right? Figure it out. Let the guy figure it out. Give him. Let him have the girl. He's the hero. Let him have the girl. But yeah. Still have a soft spot for his artwork. I don't see much of it anymore. I know that he did something for Marvel, some kind of a Black Panther thing that did not do well. Did not hear many good things about it. A little too culturally on the nose, or at least had the message that turned a lot of people off who are tired of the message. Let's just make comics. They don't have to teach you anything except for courage and heroics and sacrifice. Teach you what's the difference between good and bad. Maybe that's what they are. Maybe that's what they think they're doing when they're telling us, teaching us about the message. They're teaching us what's right and wrong. And maybe we just don't agree what right and wrong is. That really is what I think our problem is. Why we think there's no good entertainment anymore. Because the people who control entertainment have a different understanding of what's right and what's wrong. They think we're wrong. They think I'm wrong. They think things have been wrong. I don't know how we would have gotten here if we were so wrong, but the current culture, overeducated culture, seems to think that we need re-educated. And that's the arrogance that I'm talking about when it comes to Joe Quesada. Just make cool looking comics. Don't be too heavy handed with, at least disguise it better. I guess if you're going to try to teach, re-educate us. Make it a lot more subtle. Make it much, much more subtle, please. Ryan says, better than what it was in the last Batman movie. I forget what we were talking about there. Right, I'm coloring the final page. Okay. Better than what it was in the last Batman movie. I forget what we were talking about, where that statement would make sense. Well, guys, we are approaching the final few lines of this drawing. Just to remind you, you can purchase this along with the ash can, the San Diego Comic-Con ash can. Highly sought after. Great as a gift for the absolute Batman fan in your life. If they were not in San Diego, it would have been very hard for them to get their hands on this ash can. Going for $100 on eBay. And for the price that I have it up for, I think it's $120. You get that and this. this absolute sketch. Let's see. Let me get the absolute signature in here. So you guys know it's me. This is also a combination of Joe Madureira and Joe Quesada's signature. Joe Quesada used to just do the Q. And Joe Madureira. I don't know if he ever signed it. He used to sign his whole name, Madureira. And I think it went down to Mad. And that's kind of inspired me to use the Q, which is my middle initial, instead of my last name. I do have a signature that has my whole last name. That looks kind of like an Asian font, and it spells out Nguyen. And I actually have that tattooed on my shoulder. That's my only tattoo. So things you didn't know about me. I got a tattoo of my last name, the dumbest thing that you could ever get. But when you're a 21-year-old kid and somebody says, I went with a kid who was getting his first name tattooed to his arm. I was like, why would you do your first name? I would at least do my last name. And he goes, well, what would it look like? And then I drew the Asian fonted last name. And he's like, you should get that. I was like, oh yeah, I should get that. Like a dummy. I was not drunk. We just worked together. Kid's name was Glenn. I'll always remember because that's what he got tattooed to his arm. And he was a knucklehead. All right, guys. Thank you for hanging out with me on this Friday night. We are into the regular weekend. Don't forget, today was not Saturday. Don't go to church tomorrow because that's only Saturday. I mean, you can go to church tomorrow. I'm sure Catholic churches are open. But my church will not be open. It will be open on Sunday. But before we know, it's going to be Monday. We're all going to be crying about it. So enjoy your weekend. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the encouragement. Thank you, Ryan, for hanging out and keeping me talking. And I will see you guys next week.
With courage in his heart, a beacon of hope, he's ready to start. With faith as his armor and a fire in his soul, Alpha Red stands tall, fulfilling his role. Alpha Red, the hero we need, with the power of faith, he'll always succeed. Fighting darkness, he'll never dread, for the world is safe with Alpha Red. In a world full of chaos, where evil may lurk, he fights for the righteous, his mission and work. Guided by God, with strength from above, he battles the darkness with unyielding love. Alpha Red, the hero we need, with the power of faith, he'll always succeed. Fighting darkness, he'll never dread, for the world is safe with Alpha Red, Alpha Red. When the night seems too long and hope seems so far, look to the skies, we'll see his bright star. With a prayer and a promise, he faces the fight. Alpha Red shines through, the beacon of light. Alpha Red, Alpha. So stand tall with courage, let your faith lead the way. With Alpha beside us, we'll see a brighter day. For evil may tremble, but never forget, the world is protected by our hero, Alpha. Alpha.